11:14. Curtis, could you do the invocation?
Rise, please. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this day. Lord, be with us as we go through our committee meetings today. Be with the representatives who come to represent their department. And Lord, bless the visitors we have and be with us as we go through this day. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Sheila?
Yes, sir. Dick Lang,
Here.
Harley Buzzard,
Yeah.
Jack Baker,
Here.
Joe Bird, Julia Coates, Cody Fishinghawk, Janelle Fulbright, John Gartman, Frankie Hargis,
Present.
China Glory Jordan,
Present.
Lee Keener,
Honey.
Curtis Snell,
Here.
Janice Taylor,
Here.
David Thornton, Victoria Vesquez,
Honey.
David Walkingstick, Eric Allen Watts.
Oh, honey.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for approval of minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Well, we're talking about the IHP, right? 2015,
No,
the
just
minutes.
approval of minutes.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because we moved the regular meeting. I apologize.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, our reports from Marcia Lane.
Well, good morning. I only have one thing to really talk about, and then I'll take questions, is we have been thinking quite a while about taking our veterans on a trip. And we've looked at our budget, and so we're planning on taking a group probably about the middle of September. We believe that there's enough in the budget to take 17. And that would be, what we hope to do is get one from each district, plus the out of area. We haven't worked out any details or anything. What we would want to do is take them on a 3-day deal with a sponsor, with a someone to help take care of them. They would have to be able to go, would be the main thing, and our targets would be the older ones first. And as we make our plans, we will keep everybody involved in it, and I think this will be a good thing. Most of the major tribes do this, and I do want to say we did try to talk with the ones who do the honor flight, and they do it in one day, and it is a good thing, but as far as working out any type of special deals, they said that they couldn't do that because it's the way they were funded, and we would just have to make an application for each applicant and just go through the process. So I thought, well, why not? Why don't we just do ourselves? So we're looking at that, and it'll be a good deal. And we'll probably start with the ones who are being honored. Look at that list, the ones that have been honored at your council meetings, and because we would have their name and address to go by. That's all I have to.
Would this be a bus trip, or where do you think you're going?
No, it'd be a flight.
Flight? Are you planning on DC or what?
DC, I'm sorry. Yes.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Are there an age limit?
I'm sorry.
Is there an age limit on this trip?
You want to go help?
You can go as their sponsor.
Yeah, I will.
That's why we will let you guys
They're
know.
able to travel.
Everybody has an interest in the veterans.
Yes, sir.
Marcia, I see you've got several vacancies in your department. Where are most of those vacancies? Where are they?
A lot of them are right now in ICW. And we're filling them just as fast as we can.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Marcia, I just want to make sure I'm reading your report correctly. We're serving, I guess, year-to-date, 2,522 LIHEAP in general. That's households, right?
Yes.
And then there's 1,225 on the $200 ad each 6 months.
The what?
The $200 LIHEAP ad addition,
It's the,
Elders in Need
Yeah.
program.
right.
And that's households for the year, so about half those.
Yeah. But remember, we do 2 payments to them. We do two times to those elders in need.
So does the 1,225 represent 612 or 613 households? Or does it represent the 1,225 households?
The majority of our people
Does that make sense?
that get LIHEAP are the same, but you have to understand that on the elders in need, you may do LIHEAP in the fall and spring, and then someone have a birthday, so then they're eligible for that elders in need. So that's some of it is because they're not quite old enough for the elders in need yet.
I guess, I'm just making sure that I read the report correctly. I understand what you just explained on why there's a difference between the two. But is that 1,225 different households that elders in need serve this year, or is it really half that?
Can I
Because
get
brought
you
it-
something in writing, really?
That would be awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any more questions? Thank you. Good job. I think I'm gonna hold our on-calls until last, and then we can just drop right into that new business, if that's okay, Ron. Okay. Gary Cooper.
Good morning. I'm used to saying good afternoon to y'all, but good morning. I know that y'all are probably ready to get to the Indian Housing Plan, so I'll try to keep mine very brief. I just wanted to report that last week, we had our negotiated rulemaking committee session, and we have actually started to make some progress, make some headway. Last week was the last meeting that we will have with the Assistant Secretary as she departs from HUD the end of this month. So we were able to make some progress, and we hope to continue that momentum next month. I think that's the main thing that I wanted to report for you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
And
Yes, ma'am.
just to make sure I'm reading the report correctly, we have 73 homes built as of the new home construction as of today per your report. 73 now.
I believe that is correct, yes. And then that doesn't include the nearly 200 we have under construction.
Okay, but 73 homes completed as of per
As of-
today.
Well, that would have
As for
been
this report.
as of that report, which I think would have been at the close of business April.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good report. Michael Lynn, yes.
Good morning.
Morning.
I think you have our report, for our monthly report in your packet. A few items I do want to mention. We opened bids on 2 projects last week. One of them on the June 10th was the Sequoia High School intersection. We did receive two bids on that project, and also on June 12th, Thursday of last week, we opened bids on Wycliffe Bridge in Mays County and received 2 bids on that one as well. We haven't made any official awards yet. They're still being evaluated and waiting on some information from the bidders to come to us, some information that we've requested since the bid opening. But we anticipate an award being made fairly soon on both of those projects. Couple other items. We are working on a grant submission right now with the Federal Transit Administration for a grant called the Ladders of Opportunity. We're applying for $306,000 through that grant for the purchase of 4 additional compressed natural gas transit buses to be used, and that's what that funding will be used for if it is awarded. And then we're also working in conjunction with the Attorney General's Office and administration with the Federal Transit Administration to have the FY13 and 14 funds released to the tribe. They've been tied up for some time. When FTA made the award to the nation, they lumped the Cherokee Nation and UKB funds together. The FTA's advice to us was to work it out amongst ourselves and let them know how we worked it out. That we have still yet to work out the agreement with the UKB, but we feel that a portion of the funds are broken up into 3 tiers: Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tiers 1 and 2 we feel are separatable, and we've requested that those be released to us, and we'll work out the details on Tier 3 in the future. So we're working with them on that. And lastly, I want to mention coming up in the first part of July, on July 8th, we've got scheduled an acquisition meeting to kick off our right-of-way acquisition process on the Northeast Fort Gibson project. Project runs in between Muskogee and Cherokee counties, and we're ready to start acquiring the right-of-way so we can get that out of the way, or get that acquired and begin moving utilities on that project. So those are the items I wanted to mention. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Tina?
That new Fort Gibson project runs over by the 7 new homes that was built by the Housing Authority.
I'm not exactly sure where that property's at, but I believe you're right,
One
yes.
side is Cherokee County and one side is Muskogee.
Then it probably runs right through there, yes.
I
Because
try and get them to put their mailboxes over on Cherokee County side, but I think Don's trying to keep them over in Muskogee. You say you got 2 bids on those 2 projects, that one at Sequoia School and
Yes.
one at Wycliffe Bridge?
Yes.
How close were they to y'all's estimate?
The Sequoia High School bid was spot on. I mean, like within less than 1% of the
Let's
estimate.
put the stoplight in.
Yes. Now the Wycliffe Bridge, I don't recall, to be honest with you, how close it was. I can find out and let you know.
Okay, I would appreciate it.
Yeah. And what I'll do is, if it's okay, I'll just send you the bid tabs on both of them.
Right, I'd just like to see how close they were.
Okay. You bet.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, ma'am.
Janice, did you have your?
I did. I was just curious about those 2 bids also. Did you get Terrell vendors to bid on those?
The intersection project, no, there was no Terrell vendors at all. The bridge project did have 1 Terrell vendor, and the company what is the apparent low bid at this time. So far, so good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We don't have anybody on our Carroll list for traffic lights.
No, at all.
That's kind of a specialized area.
It's very, even the prime contractor, no matter who it is, wouldn't be able to install the actual poles and mast arms and all. That is very specialized.
Is there just 1 or 2 over in northeast Oklahoma that does that now?
I think there's just a couple, yes.
One out of Muskogee, I know. I think they can do it. Is that advanced?
And Advanced doesn't even do that. This is called I believe the subcontractor that the low bidder was using is traffic signal specialists or something like that.
They're out of Tulsa, aren't they?
Probably, I believe so. I'd have to go back and look.
Okay.
It is pretty specialized.
It's hard to get them in that area. I know we had trouble when we were doing state work.
Yes.
Thank you.
I've got Frankie and then Harley. Harley, you were slow on the draw.
On Malloy Hollow Road, we're still at 60%. What's going on with that?
There's some design challenges as you come off of Highway 100 where it kind of goes up the hill and around through the pines there. There's the way that road kind of meanders through there, and the elevation changes for the newly designed road is we're trying to get access to some of the property owners there. You might have actually spoken with some of them in the past. I don't know. One of them's an employee here at the Nation. We're still trying to get that all settled where he can have access in and out of there and get vehicles and trucks and trailers in and out of there safely. It's just kind of a bad area the way it is, and it's situated in there now, and when we raise the road elevation to, or get the road designed to where it meets a federal specification, it's just going to make it even tougher. So, but we're trying to get through that and work with him on getting that situation resolved before we move any farther.
Okay, and then the section of road that you and I had discussed several times out at Christie or Chewy, I guess Chewy Skelly area, that
Yes.
we discovered wasn't in my district?
Yes.
Was anything done on that?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you, I was just curious.
Harley?
Michael, the other bridges on Kenwood Road, when are they gonna be bid out?
They're under construction as we speak. They started last week. Paradigm Construction Engineering out of Tulsa.
The other question, I have two more questions, is, how much is that, the FTA settlement we're talking about with UKD? Is it 900 and some thousand?
The 13 award was almost 750,000, I believe, and the 14 award was in the 600 range. I'm not entirely sure, but I think between 650 and 700, I believe,
Now, those monies.
combined.
Okay, those monies are earmarked toward transit, is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes, transit operations, yes.
And just to make the committee aware of this, this is a problem. You know, the problem for Michael is a problem for Cherokee Nation because they split those 50% and there's no way that's gonna happen. So if we need to get more behind Michael on the thing, we probably need to look at that really, really hard because we're talking about several $100,000 between the split on the thing. So I want to watch that fairly close line. The other thing, Michael, I want to make sure on the new clinic in J that we've got that whole road on the inventory. Because it runs right in front of our food warehouse system and back out to the road.
Yes.
Is it on the system now?
No, I don't believe it's on the system now, but I've already surveyed it and in the process of getting it added for this next update.
And the reason I say that is, I know you probably hadn't been up there, but they're tearing the road up. The one in front of the food warehouse, it's in bad shape, you know, so the sooner the better. The sooner we can get a big road in there, the better option.
Yes, yes.
Anyway, thank you.
Denise, did you have your hand up?
No, sir.
Don? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael, the Fort Gibson Road you're talking about, for getting beds, is all that in Cherokee County?
Crosses between Cherokee and Muskogee County both. I think the majority of it is in in Muskogee County, but it does cross into Cherokee County.
I think most of it's in Cherokee County.
I'll have to look and
Maybe
see.
all of it.
It may be, no, not all of it. I can tell you that, I know that for sure. I'm just not sure exactly what mileage is in each county.
Could you email me a map of it?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Oh, I did have one question. Michael, Don, I think that road starts off of, is that 4 Mile?
It starts off, it's just as you cross over the bayou, Maynard Bayou Bridge, it ducks off there to the north.
You remember that dirt road that went right by the side of those, new homes? I think it's that road there that will connect up to.
That's where it starts and then goes north. That'd be all Cherokee County.
We'll give you half of it. Especially when it comes to the maintenance part.
Yeah, I'll get you both the map, how's that? Okay.
Michael, I have one more question. And it may be good information for the other council members here is on the ridership, on demand on ridership. How does that work? How do you go about making the calls?
What kind of calls are you referring to?
For instance, the patient needs to go to Clarendon Hospital or Hastings Hospital. Who do they call to get there?
They would call the actual provider, for instance, if they're up north in, let's say Delaware County, they would call Pelivan Transit, and that would be what we call a demand response ride. We ask that they give 72 hours notice to ensure that there's a bus and a driver available. When they do call, they need to request that or they need to tell the dispatch that they are requesting a Cherokee Nation demand response ride to wherever they're going. And we have a policy on that. We'll only provide rides to healthcare facilities, grocery stores, financial institutions, banks. government facilities. I think that's about it, about those 4 items there. And
What's the cost of that?
right now, the cost is 50 cents each way, $1 round trip.
And that's a good program. You know, I have a lot of people that call and don't have a ride, and you can certainly recommend that they call and make those, because they have appointments, you know, a week or a month ahead of time. And I have a lot of people that call that don't have those, so it's a good program.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Lee Keener.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michael, on the CG buses, your grant you're working on, the 306K, is that going to replace some of those buses, or what's the plan at all?
It would replace. It would replace
so
some buses, yes.
We won't be adding any new.
Actually, what we'll do is there'll be some of the buses that we have now that are titled in Cherokee Nation's name. We have an agreement with the providers like Pelivan, Katz, Muskogee County, and Cimarron. We have agreements with those to lease operate those vehicles on behalf of the nation. So what we would do, they would be titled in the Cherokee Nation's name. And tagged, of course, through Cherokee Nation, but they would be lease operated to a provider, and which would, in essence, replace a vehicle on that provider's fleet. So,
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mike. And is anybody here from Commerce? Okay, I guess we'll skip Commerce today. Ron, think you're on, sir. I think if you want to go through your regular stuff, and then we'll slip into the other.
Just have a few comments on the,
We need to amend the agenda to do that, because it's item number 2, and we have an item number 1.
I think it's already on, isn't it?
Yeah, the IHP is new business number 2.
Right.
New business number 1 first.
Oh, I see what you're saying. To go straight into number 2, you want, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and consider item number 2 at this time, as well as the community services item number 2 report for Ron Qualls.
Second.
All who approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
first of all, I just wanted to say that Gary and I have been, and Ashley have been attending the negotiated rulemaking. And I'm in a separate group than Gary's in. He's in the formula section of the negotiated rulemaking. I'm in the what's called a formula assisted stock. It's the separate part of the allocation that we get annually that determines how much funding we get for the low rent units that Gary operates, Section 8 and that kind of unit. So, and of course, at this stage, while we have talked about lots and lots and lots of stuff, which, by the way, in my opinion, none of it really impacts us so far, good or bad. It's pretty much break even, I think. Two more meetings are scheduled, one in July and one in August. And hopefully Gary's group, which is the most difficult group, hopefully they can come to a resolution on how the funding is going to be allocated. Now the IHP, and since the IHP, a good part of the IHP is a housing authority, I'm going to ask Gary to come up. And since Ashley spent hours and hours and hours and hours doing this, I've asked her to come up. There's a couple of things I would like to start off, especially for the new folks. When you start reviewing the IHP, you'll start seeing page after page after page of, like the first page that I have here, it's talking about modernization. And you can go through that and it'll tell you how many folks we're going to help or how many units we're going to build or fix or whatever. But if you want to see the dollars that goes with that, and we had the packet reprinted a couple of times, I think. But in my packet, you go back to page 65, and it tells you, and it's in the same order that, like modernization, would be the first thing on page six. Is it 65 in yours? Okay. And you can see the dollars that are intended to be expended during the year for modernization, which happens, that modernization happens to be a housing authority program. And one of the other things to make this easier to follow in the future, if you look at modernization, Gary knows that's housing authority, I know it's housing authority, Ashley knows, but I think it would be a good idea in the future if instead of just saying modernization or whatever the title is of that page, that we actually say is housing authority. So we'll all know whose program it is, whether it's Marcia's or whether it's mine or whether it's Gary's or whoever it is, that we actually indicate whose program it is. I guess what we'd like to do is, at this point then, is just open it up for, and by the way, the budgets are flat budgets based on last year. So we don't have severe swings in anybody's budget. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, and Harley's gonna be first. I had a suggestion from the speaker that, can you tell us the differences between the old package and this one? Would that help us? Would that make it easier for us to understand it? And I'll leave it to you to decide that.
The last year's IHP, is that what you're talking about, compare the two?
Yes, sir.
I don't have
There's not really any differences in last year's and this year's. The form looks a little different because HUD has issued new forms that they like, and personally putting it together, this one actually makes it way easier. There were a couple of, the parking lot for environmental, and then there was another infrastructure, the building for housing. Those are no longer on here. We were gonna use IHP money for that, last year and the year before. Decided to take a different route, on both of those projects. And so those aren't in here, but as far as the regular programs and everything else is pretty much the exact same as it has been every year before. Or at least the past couple of years, they've been flat.
Harley, I've got you.
Mr. Chair, could we have Ron go back to page 64, and there's only like 10 or 12 items, and just tell us what program handles what program you got listed in the book, like modernization of the housing authority, modernization, who's that under now?
Mr. Chairman, could I add to that?
Yes.
So not only that, but also the number of units associated with that amount of money.
Those are on the separate pages.
Right, they're separate, so you can't get a view, a quick view. There's not a table that shows.
Okay. Ashley has the financial, page 65 or whatever it is now. If you'll tell us which, you want to just go through all of them? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Because I think this is the first IHP for some folks.
Yes, it is.
So,
All right.
and is there any carryover from prior years of the actual spent to next? Can we see that? as well?
There's an estimated on the page
So-
prior to this.
The first column.
Shows,
So it's the column
it's
A
the-
on page 63,
no,
or column E?
65. It's kind of a small table. It's
Yeah,
got-
so which
okay.
one of those? I'm on
Okay,
that same
column
page.
A
It's
is
63.
is the estimated carryover, but that's gonna be our estimated carryover plus the 14 funds that we just received. We typically don't tap into the current year's funds because we need them so late in the year. But that's what that is. That's what column A is. Column B is what we're expecting to receive for 15. And these are all estimates because, of course, I don't know exactly what September 30th is going to look like. All I can do is base it off of current fund, current spending levels, and just try to do an estimate that way. Column C is just an addition of A and B. And then D is what we have budgeted to expend in 15.
And I understand that's also deals with cash, I mean, there's the whole cash flow or money received, so I understand that. But just to have a real comparison in my mind, how much did we expend then in the prior year? So if we estimate we're gonna expend $40,232,758, what was our actual spend in the prior year, for example, on Indian Housing Block Grant Funds, IHBG?
I rolled from the APR to the IHP. I didn't even bring that with me. For some reason, I'm wanting to say around 32 million.
Okay,
Is
so,
what we spent
so,
last
so this
year.
is,
32 or 34.
this is 15, so 14 is not over. So
Right,
are
but
are
she's
you,
talking carryover from 13.
So,
Is what she's
no,
looking at.
so I understand
Expenses and
that we have to shuffle. I understand the delays in IHP money and those things. But we're estimating that we're gonna expend during a 12-month period this 40 million. What was our actual spend last year?
We are spending more this year than we did last year.
Okay, so we
we're gonna
spent
come fairly
32 million,
close.
and that would be in the APR.
And like I said, that's just off the top of my head, I honestly.
I know the fiscal years don't match because it ends up that the money received late and those things. So I think I understand how I'm keeping that
Yeah,
straight.
because this 38 million that we're showing as carryover, or that I'm estimating as carryover, 28 million of that is gonna be 14 money. So it's actually, looks like it's about 10 million. And honestly, I'm not even sure we're gonna have 10 million left.
So those are the additional information I'm looking for, and it would be in a table. Because this is not, I understand that HUD needs this for their uses, and we need to match that up, but for my look, I'm trying to figure out the whole scope. And it would be this,
So you're wanting more of a spreadsheet based off of this as far as
like
program?
what department has
What department
which,
does it, what they spent last year?
how
what
many
their budget
units,
is.
how much they actually spent. And I understand the delay in revenue received. I get that, so that's not, I think, I don't know if anybody else understands. I assume they do.
You're just
but-
wanting a breakdown on the spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay. That'd just be something I would need to create separately.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
how long's it take?
I'm pretty busy today, but I can get it done fairly quick. It wouldn't-
Today,
it
we just
wouldn't
want
take-
it
it wouldn't-
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Are we gonna
It
be
just take-
voting on that
it just
tonight
take
at full
me.
council? Are we voting on this tonight at full council, or can we wait a month to vote on it? Will we have it before then?
Oh, we'll have it before then. Has the administration talked about putting this on the agenda in July?
The
I
deadline.
think we were gonna do it tonight. I thought we were gonna do it today.
That's why we set it up like this.
I think so. That's what I understood.
I didn't get a copy until Saturday, so, I mean, we talked about in the last meeting that we'd have it a week or 2 weeks before, and that's not what happened, so.
So are we awaiting a spreadsheet for the council then? Is that-
I feel like I need additional information. I don't know how everyone else feels.
Actually, we're just submitting a resolution now that we want to continue with the housing funds.
Right.
The key thing is the budget, right? And the budget is amendable anytime.
Oh,
we
yeah,
desire to
the
do
entire
so.
thing is amendable at
Yeah.
any time.
And I think that's been the same answer that I've been given for 7 years now, is this is the mechanism by which we get the federal money, but what we do with the federal money, we control on a monthly basis.
Yeah, through our
So
budget- through our
there's
budget
really no
process.
foul in passing this and completely changing it in 2 months if we desire to do so. But we don't want to miss the deadline to apply for the money. That's the critical thing. So I would suggest to this body that unless there's just something here that burns the barn down, that we we get it on tonight's agenda, get it passed on through so that we don't lose the $30 million funding. And then, if you see a need to change it, we can change that on a monthly basis. And I'm understanding from Ashley that it's pretty well a flat line.
It is.
It
It is.
is a
It
continuation
is.
of the program that was moving as the new administration came in. There were some changes made. That's just continuing on into will be its
Very
fourth
few
year.
changes made even then.
We will work really hard to provide each of you any type of information you want on this, as quickly as we can. If you want a spreadsheet that does a comparison of this year versus last year, we'd be happy to give you that. Just don't have it today, that's all.
Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate it. So I can support moving it forward. I just need more information, and that spreadsheet would be delivered in a timely manner.
Yes, I can have it to you within a day or two.
Okay.
I just have to time to put it together.
So, but we still are going to have a review of the programs and what the actual units are that are expected and who has responsibility for what. Okay.
I'm gonna give the count. You have to follow along.
Yep.
All right, modernization is housing authority, Cherokee Nation.
Yep.
Page 10.
Modernization is housing authority?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that on 64?
Yeah.
What else you need?
Yeah, she
Just
wants
that?
to know the number of units.
300 units. Modernization again.
I apologize, but I just want to make sure my head's clear about this, because now that I've been trying to help constituents, and I get confused between Gary and Ron's groups. So I want to make sure my mind's clear. So on modernization, that is not rehab.
No,
That is the old mutual help, thank you. So mutual help homes.
Or, in
This
this
one-
case, this is low rent, actually.
Yeah, the first one is low rent.
apartments.
Modernization, low rent.
Okay, so item number 1.1 is low rent apartment modernization. So that's gonna be like our Claremore senior housing unit? Or is that
Part of it.
something else?
Yeah, plus all
Or is
the
that
other.
Catoosa?
It's all of the low
Okay.
rent housing, all of our low rent housing apartments. And if you'll notice in the program description, like on 1.2, it says what this is for, repair low rent units. So that can kind of help you out too.
Which is why one table would be good instead of flipping back and forth when I get it on Saturday, 2 days before the meeting. I mean, I want to be clear that I've tried to do my part, so. So all right, so now you're on modernization 1.2?
Yep. 2.2.
2.1,
2.1 is housing authority modernization.
and this is for mutual help units.
So on page 64, it says 1.2 program name.
it automatically, this spreadsheet automatically feeds it in, so however HUD
Okay,
has done that, I can't change.
so it's
I can't
1.1
change
on the
that.
first, but it's 2.1 when we're referencing back on the second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep in mind, it's a new form. They
Yeah.
haven't worked out all the bugs.
It's even switched on the, she's on
Well,
page,
it gives the
Well,
the
it
HUD
actually has,
number,
it actually
but
has
then it
both
gives
of
your
them.
number
Yeah.
also,
Yeah,
so that makes
it
it
has
easier.
both of them.
Yeah, tied to it.
And actually, with that new form, we're just figuring it all out. This is the first time we've ever used it. I can actually change my numbers to match what they're automatically putting in there, but it will not let me change anything that they formatted. It actually will not. I've tried.
Janelle, do you have a question?
I've got a comment I want to make. Consider yourself lucky that you have low-income apartments in your county, because we don't have any. We're hoping for some. So, and I understand there are several of them, but we don't have any, and I'm sure they all need to be remodeled, refurbished, redone.
Yeah, we have
But
900.
that's just my comment.
For our low rent, we have 944 units. The oldest ones that we still have on the ground were built in 1969. And probably the last ones built were in the early 80s. So you can just imagine some of the age that they're showing and why we put a bunch of money into energy efficiency, update, basically stuff like that to help our
Lee, did you have a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the 2.1/1.1 is Housing Authority.
And 1.2. The 2.1 is actually 1.2.
All right,
so-
if you're following on 64 on the latest
Yes,
pages,
I am.
1.1 and 1.2 is housing authority.
Yes. 1.3 is Housing.
1.3 is
No.
Delaware Tribe.
And that's
Oh,
a
okay.
carryover.
And then
Okay, we'll just go through each department first, and then we'll get back to the numbers, if that'll work.
Got a
May
question
have
from
a
Janice.
difference just to make sure that we go
Janice
back
has
and
had
forth,
her
'cause I'm
hand up
fixing it
for-
on
Okay,
this.
For
and
a while.
actually, it was what Counselor Keener just asked. I'm trying to get straight, and I think I've got this now.
Tina, did you have?
You did mention the number of units that you expect to modernize under mutual help.
Under mutual help, it would be 105.
And
And
this
of
is
course,
the
all of
second
these,
line.
yeah, all of these are estimates. Like, I don't have the APR in front of me from last year, but I know on like low rent, even though we estimate 300, I want to say like our actual numbers that we did was like 600 and some odd. It's usually double or something. It just depends on what we're going to do and how much money we can spend. So this is truly just a guess. 2.1 is also housing authority, and that is for operations for our low rent apartment units. And that would be for the,
It's not
This is just
our
overhead.
944 units, that's just for operational stuff.
944 units overhead.
That includes, we have maintenance guys. Just regular everyday.
Delaware's just a pass-through, right?
Uh, Which one?
It's
Oh,
subgranted, yeah, they estimate 100 units on there.
May I? So really quick, I've had questions from Delaware's about the Delaware deal. Who do they go to in order to get that information? Do they come to you, us, do they go to HUD, or do they go to Delaware's? Thank you.
4.1 is also housing authority, and that is to reconstruct the low rent units that we were authorized to demo, and that's 25. And Janelle, those are the ones that we're looking at, trying to see if we can get some of those in your area, because you and Mr. Thornton are the only ones that do not have. Sequoia County is one of the only counties we do not have low rent units in.
Great.
So we are seeing what we can do.
Make sure, so it says 4.1 construct rental housing. That is to the housing authority for 25 units, and I think,
25 low rent units.
and that is, that you demolished those ones in prior, I think.
Yes.
And,
Well, we are demolishing.
okay, we're in the
Yeah,
process
because they're in
of.
the process of moving out the last ones.
Okay, and then
Demoing the last ones. So it
Sequoia
hasn't
County will be
actually been
considered.
demolished yet.
And that's our inventory, that's all very
Yes.
reasonable. I'm just trying to make sure in my mind that it's clear. Okay.
Yeah, and I just need to be real clear on that they are not demolished.
They are
because
demolishing.
Once they are demolished, we have 1 year to reconstruct.
You want to say that real loud in this?
I think I made it clear now. 5.1 is for our rural rental, and that is also for what we those as modernization funds. And that would be for our rural rental housing units. Rural rental would be those homes that were constructed under NAHASDA that were basically non-1937 Act units or non-mutual home units.
But they're owned by the housing authority.
Yes, they are.
And how many units is that? And that's HACN doing that?
We estimate doing 35. Yes. Yeah, any modernization, basically modernization would be repairing, rehabbing, renovating, doing stuff to units we own, if that helps you. We have to own the units in order to modernize them.
13.1 is for mortgage assistance, that's done by Commerce. And they're estimating 153.
That's less than the prior years, isn't it?
When the amount we're giving out goes up, it went from 15 to 25. Of course, the number of years in existence goes up.
Thank you.
14.1 is Housing Authority, and that is simply a Title VI subsidy. That is basically payments that we make to pay down the Title VI debt.
Not payments on accounts receivables from Title VI mortgages,
No, we use it to pay down the Title VI mortgage.
because we're serving less Title VI folks. So this is really an accounting. How do we look at that line and measure that line?
It's interesting because the Title VI funds were received, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Almost.
3. And it's a repayment of the loan is what it is. And it's kind of curious that we list it as units. But obviously, that's what HUD wants to see. But the units were built several years ago.
And Title VI, the whole purpose behind Title VI is Title VI is secured by your Indian housing plan, by your future funding. So we have to put a line item in our IHP to use part of our IHP to pay down the debt.
Just a clarification, and I think I understand it right. We're paying that off faster than the clients are paying
Yes,
back to us.
absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
front end looks like we're giving out more money than what we're taking in, but the back end, we get it back.
Yeah, last year we paid off, there was 2 loan pools. We paid off the first loan pool. I think we only have about, and don't hold me to it, but I want to say around $7.5 million in pool B. And that was on a 20-year payback, I believe, and we're, like Ron said, we're only about, we're 11 years into it, so we're paying it off at almost twice the rate.
But they're 30-year loans.
They're 30-year loans, so we will have income coming in for almost 2/3 of the time.
We've got Janice, Kara, and then Hartley.
Okay, and are we back to Housing Authority on that?
On
Do
Title
that
VI
under-
subsidy?
on Title VI.
It's yeah, we operate, we own we operate the units, collect the payments, all of that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Kara?
So when I look at this, this is really, in terms of revenue, and we get a subsidy from them just to operate the program, this offsets. Am I interpreting that correctly? I feel like I don't have a grasp of this particular one.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. I see what
The
Speaker
Title-
Jordan.
Okay, the Title VI program, the collateral, if you remember back whenever Title VI came about.
It's just the cash that we allocate then to this program to make sure it's floating.
Yeah, the
Okay.
grant. We have to allocate part of the grant, because the grant is used as collateral, not the individual.
And I'm just curious to how many Title VI homes were built?
How many were built?
Yeah, how many?
I don't recall. We have, I think there's 235 still active.
235, still active?
Still active.
Okay.
There's 238 as of the CAFR.
Initially, we had 300.
That would have been at the end of
Yeah.
We were approved for $50 million and we ended up borrowing 32.5.
Don, you're next.
Everything's going good. Looks like there's all housing authority except 2 of them. Is that correct?
So far.
So far.
Now
Okay.
you're getting ready to get into non-housing authorities.
Yesterday, about this time, we went to lunch. I just wondered, what we gonna do today? That's a question for the chairman.
Yes, sir.
Pardon? Speak up so everybody can hear.
Speak up, I'll do
Lunch will
that.
be here by 12:30.
Lunch will be here by 12:30, so says the speaker. If it's not here by 12:30 now, she said it, not me.
Well, it's supposed to be here by 12:30.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
15.2, that's the MAP financial planning and self-sufficiency training that they do. They estimate, it's commerce. And they estimate 750.
750
Yeah.
families, I guess.
Yes. Okay, 15.3, IDA, individual development account, that's also commerce.
Is that what's the iSave now?
Yes. And they're estimated 120. 16.1, that's community services housing rehab program. 400. Now, housing rehab helps a lot more people. This is just the Nahasda funds. It doesn't include the tribal funds that they have.
Mr. Chairman, okay, so 400 units, this is community services, and was the policy revisited and changed about what that benchmark is, that it goes from a rehab to a replacement? This is that program, right?
I don't remember if that changed when the policy changed or not. I'm not sure that threshold changed.
Rehab to a replacement? I'm not understanding the question.
Yeah, there was, I'm trying to, people ask these questions, and I want to be able to answer them. So, like, if a rehab or remodel, or however you want to put that, goes from a $10,000 deal to a $45,000 deal, is there a trigger amount in there that you start looking at? It goes from a rehab to a replacement home.
Yeah, yeah. It has more, instead of being strictly based on dollars, it has more to do with the actual value of the house, whether it might be in a floodplain, whether it's some lead-based paint or asbestos tied to it. Factor all those in, and if that rehab is going to cost more than or equal to or close to a replacement home, yeah, we'd try to do a replacement.
Now, if they're in a floodplain or something, do we move them then and it's a complete replacement home?
At times, we will look for another site.
Okay. And what's that, is it, but there has to be in the policy, isn't there some kind of trigger point of some kind of benchmark?
Yeah, the policy has,
Approximate.
it has an amount of 35,000, but that, to me, is just way too low. It's way too low. If we can fix a house, make it a good house for $35,000, then we should, instead of doing a new house.
Okay. So is that being reevaluated
Yes,
then?
it is.
Very good, thank you.
16.3, home energy audits, that's environmental. And they're estimating 200 of those. 16.4, that's the replacement homes done through rehab, which is what you were just talking about, the rehab, replacement homes. So that's community services. We got 14 of those.
How many did we replace in this past year? This is Nahasda funds again?
We're hoping to do 32.
But we
Past
have-
year, this year.
This year. But this year we have regular Nahasda funds plus program income.
not have the programming.
No. Income collected from the housing units and stuff.
Okay, so
Before we
that
had
was
some
the $20
because
million
Gary-
cash fund or cushion fund, about 20 million that the housing had.
No.
Program income is income that's generated off of this grant.
Okay.
Housing Authority collects
About 3 million.
off of this grant on our programs. Cherokee Nation, I'm not sure.
There was some
67,000.
unbudgeted program income.
From prior
So-
years.
From prior years, so
Okay.
we, scarfed it up.
We did.
We took it and we budgeted it. It's gone now, though.
Yeah, now the housing authority is separate, they keep it on their side. 17.1, that's housing authorities again, rental assistance.
And that's the rental assistance program, 1,471 units. That's where we help subsidize families' rent.
You said how many?
1,471.
1,471. So this past year in the CAFR, it shows that there's 2,189 served through rental assistance.
Yep, that's why a lot of times I'm saying these are just estimates. These are the actual numbers we saw can be.
Okay.
And we definitely don't want to overestimate.
If you do overestimate, HUD wants a lengthy description of why you served less.
And just so you know, the 1,471 number that we use in here is because that's the number we're funded through FCAS, or Formula Current Assisted Stock. On one side of the grant, that was old Section 8 vouchers or coupons or whatever we had before, certificates, whenever NAHASDA came about. So we're funded for 1,471.
Okay, thank you.
Now, the next one, it's out of sync a little bit. It was originally 17.2, but I got a letter from HUD saying they wanted that particular activity changed to 24.3, which just gives it a little different identity. That's site development, community services. It's through the water and sanitation program. And they just got that a couple of years ago. It didn't get utilized the way it was originally intended because it was gonna be used on the new construction homes, but they really didn't use the NAHASDA funds for those homes that Gary's building under his program. Of course, this budget was no longer gonna be used for that. So it's been reduced to 50,000. HUD doesn't want a number of units in there. In the pages, it shows 0. They just wanna know a dollar amount.
So ma'am, sorry. So we have not done any site development, but we did spend money under
But
it.
what we've done is housing rehab, when they have someone that just needs water and sewer or something, water and sewer, a well.
And there's no income restrictions on this, right?
No, there is.
There
This is in the
is,
HOSTA
there
program.
is. And so the way it's been utilized is if housing rehab has someone that comes through that qualifies for the program, if that's what they're needing, water and sewer, then water and sanitation has these funds that they get sent over, rehab sends them over to water and sanitation, and water and sanitation, they can get to it a little quicker sometimes. So it's used for NAHASDA eligible individuals. For some reason HUD wants us not to give a number. I
And that's through community services?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
17.3. That's housing authority.
Temporary
Yeah.
rental assistance program, 17.3. It's 550 units. That is emergency or a temporary rental assistance program where we can assist families for, it's usually up to 3 months. Any emergency
He's estimating
situations.
550.
How long is the temporary? How much the?
It's usually up to 3 months. Depending on the situation, we can extend it, but it's usually for those dire emergencies.
Yes.
Where a family is going to become homeless or is homeless and needs a place to stay or something along those lines. But it is just temporary. It's usually just for 3 months at a time.
This is a question.
They kind of help get them caught up.
You know, most of those HUD, those rental guests that we have built years ago, most of those are paid off, aren't they?
No. Well, yes, no, which one? Yes. Now, they're paid off whenever we build.
Okay.
But we get subsidy for them through the grant here to operate them.
Which
And to
group,
keep them out.
which group of people would fall in this category in most cases? This temporary rental system? College students or people who've been evicted or?
It's usually for people who have been evicted or are being evicted, consider themselves home. In some cases, it's, where you have domestic violence.
Sure.
Things of that nature.
Yeah.
That's some cases where it comes in. Basically, what we do is as long as we can verify that there is a hardship,
Yeah.
that it is a dire emergency situation, the family needs a roof over their head.
And we still have some homeless people out there that are having difficult times. Except for Sequoia County, they all seem to be over income. They weren't when I left, but,
That's good.
Go ahead, Gary.
But that's what we have this program reserved for. And it's-
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And that's through, the rental assistance, that would be where we help them through private landlords.
Janelle, do you want rebuttal time on that?
Right. I have a homeless shelter 1.5 miles from my house. The lady usually has 30 guests there at a time, and over half of them are Cherokee. They're referred by the courts just out of prison, and they go up to the day work program. I know we got plenty of homeless down there. Need emergency help.
I understand.
And a lot of the folks that we get through the temporary assistance program are also folks that come in to try to get help through like Diane Kelly's group,
Yeah.
through career services or something. And they need a place to stay or need to get close to a job or something. That is one of those programs where we usually are working directly with either Marcia's group or Diane's group, or all three of us are working together to help these families. So, one of us isn't just doing one thing, it's usually all of us come together to help them find a place to work, to live, to all of that stuff.
By the way, negotiated rulemaking, there is a push by several tribes to remove Section 8 rental assistance from current assisted stock. And, of course, we're going to do everything we can to keep that from happening. And I think we'll be successful. But a lot of tribes don't have Section 8. As a matter of fact, Oklahoma has probably about 90% of all the Section 8 rental assisted units that there is. And that's because historically, we were very active in applying for rental assistance when it was available to us. So, anyway, we'll have to protect against losing that, and I think we'll be successful.
You'll have to drag me out before we get that out.
Screaming and hollering.
18.1, transitional housing, that's human services. And they're estimating 2,750.
Was that housing authority?
No, human services, 2,750.
2,750.
Yes,
That's Marcia?
that's Marcia.
And can you just give a quick overview of how that works?
I think that's the program that they have with security deposits,
Yes,
utility
deposits, utility deposits,
things
helping
of that
someone
nature.
get moved in.
Or I think sometimes too,
Sometimes to
maybe
keep them from getting
to
thrown
keep
out.
them from getting thrown out. I can only pay, well, no, rent. I can only pay current or future rents. I can't pay any back rents, but Marcia's Marcia's group can
I think they do.
through
do
this
some
one.
utilities.
And they do, sometimes they will help with utilities and can help in some cases if it's past due, to keep them from getting evicted. Because rental assistance, we can't go back because we have to inspect the unit before someone moves in. And at that time is when we can start paying on under rental assistance guidelines. 18.2 is housing authority.
No, no. 18 point, that's education's piece.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the Florida NSU,
Cherokee Scholars.
yeah, Cherokee Scholars Program is what that is. They've also expanded to
And I apologize, that is part of the reason too why that number in rental assistance is a little bit higher sometimes. It's because that is the program, the line item we help fund our college housing program.
they're estimating 88 on
Scholar program. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Harry, did you say that's also $100,000?
No, it's out of, ours is funded out of rental assistance.
Okay. So the 88 is for the kids who are at Northeastern and Rogers State?
Yes.
Okay.
Cherokee Scholars Program in Education.
Yeah, how much is that?
Average.
Average?
I don't know what their average is per student.
Okay, you can get that next time.
Yeah, I'll get it for you.
Thank you.
18.4, that's our community youth resident services, under community services. It's where they go out to the units and do the arts and crafts and cultural teaching for the youth. We're estimating 1,000 for that. 18.6, the career literacy, that's career services, that's their GED program. And they're saying 200.
And they have to implement that at those housing units, right?
This portion, they can access this portion to pay for housing residents, for GED, testing, services, that type of stuff. They can help anyone or some of their other programs, but this help our residents. Like it fire.
18.7, the financial assistance, that's human services, and then Ms. Martin. She's got 700.
What does that mean? Just for grins and giggles, keep on the same, so financial services?
That is, this is the one where they use this one. If I'm not, it says emergency financial assistance to keep them from being evicted, so they can use this one to pay those back. If someone gets behind on their eviction
How's that
notices,
different
they
than that
can-
transitional housing we talked
The
about?
transitional can help with utilities.
Okay, so that's only deposits, and this is the rent to keep from eviction.
Now, that's not my program, so don't hold me to it. I'm just providing you the information that's in here.
Is that, Speaker Jordan, is that consistent?
That's my understanding.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
She has 2 pots of money. Ashley, is that right? She's got
Yes.
2 pots of money.
Yes.
And actually, there's flexibility enough that
On both.
if she runs out of one, she can kind of make the other one work too.
Okay.
Those are both Marcia's programs.
18.8 is also for the human services. She's estimating 60 on that one.
18.8?
Yes. 18.9, derivative and adult services, that's community services.
So on the families first though, I mean, like, just to make sure we're understanding and consistent.
Families first, 18.8.
You said it's Marcia, 18.8, 60 units, families first, resident services. What does that functionally do?
Provides in-home case management and practical application training, and maintaining a safe, healthy home environment for qualified housing assistance recipients. And I
Is that
think-
for like an in-child welfare then?
And I believe also, I think the elder care, or the elder, adult protective service, or that service unit.
You did that.
Thank you.
18.9, community services. That's the, for the adults, it's kind of the same as the youth, except for the elderly. Mostly units, and there's 450 assigned
It's arts and crafts, but
Yes,
for elders.
For the elders. Now, 19.1, that is a combination of housing authority and commerce. It's to run the programs, rental assistance, mortgage assistance, housing authority, etc.
I heard the first two, housing authority and
Commerce.
commerce. Is that right?
It's for program overhead. Taking applications, processing applications, doing income verifications, that type of stuff. Criminal background checks for applicants, all that stuff.
Now, the next one, I changed,
Isn't that when that has to be a percentage? Is that right?
Is it fixed? Is that what
I
you're
believe
saying?
it has to be
No,
fixed or below, isn't it?
That-
Could be-
that's the administrative one, the planning
The
and administrative
planning
down at the
administration
bottom.
is the last one.
That's the one that's the.
Okay, it's set at a
Can't
percentage.
exceed 20% of the total grant. And we don't typically come over a year.
Using that much.
Now, the next one, on the budget pages, I actually, Delaware Tribe, I had their programs broke out, and then right before I sent it out, they emailed me and changed it. And so I had to delete some pages, but for some reason, it didn't change on this budget sheet. It says 19.2 Delaware Tribe Housing Management, but that's not what that line's for. It's actually for the one-stop building. 19.3 is its actual number. But that's done by Commerce, it's the Northern Area Office, I think is what we put in our budgets. They're estimating 200 to be assisted with that. They help with hand out applications and fill out applications and everything up in the Northern Office. 21.1, that's law enforcement, that's Marshall's.
Did we decide that it was fixed on the percentage? Did you say that?
The bottom, the line down.
Planning administration.
Towards the end, it says planning and administration, that one's the 20%.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I skipped, so 21.1 is
21.1, that's
is
Marshall's.
Marshall Service.
And that number's 944, that's gonna be the same as our number of units that they control.
Is there like an MOU, or how does that work with the Marshall Service? 'Cause I know it's been a question in the past, how do we? Okay.
I think there need to be an MOU.
Because they report their patrols, so that's how that works?
No, this money is Cherokee Nation money. The Marshall Service money is money goes to Cherokee, it doesn't come through to housing. It comes into the tribe.
Right, there've been questions in the past, I was just curious,
Victoria's got my
legal's the right
office.
word, but logistically, how does it work on Marshall Service being accountable back for this money? Is that the patrol report that they give you guys, or NAHASDA, how does that work?
They keep track of the patrols, it's the number of patrols they do on the housing authority units.
Okay.
Actually, I think she sent
That's a lot of units for that pool of money, considering how much gas and everything costs. I'll put it out there.
That 944, again, that's the number they use for low end.
Right.
Okay.
But since there may be individual health units paid off throughout the year, I think that's why they use the low rent number.
Thank you.
The last two are mine, and those are program income line items through the housing authority.
The last three, Tahlequah, Salisol, and cleaning?
No, the last two.
The
24
24.1
The last
and
number,
24.2.
24.1 and 24.2. This is part of the program income money we generate at housing authority. The first one is for infrastructure, Tahlequah, and that is actually to do quite a bit of work over on a building we own that environmental services this house. Upgrade air conditioning units, connect the two buildings together, because those are separate buildings and things of that nature. Reface the outside and different things like that. The second one, 24.2, is to do some work on our salary offices, and that is to include the disaster recovery site there. Our housing infrastructure. So if a tornado comes through, and blows up, it's still
Well,
Yes. Would you expand on that? What is the disaster?
disaster recovery site.
Yes.
Basically, if a tornado came through, blew away our Tahlequah office, all of our records and everything would still be, our computer records would still be stored there.
Oh, okay.
So basically, we could, you would never know that we got blown away, or if.
Okay, I just don't,
Yeah, if
wonder what you meant.
if the electric went off, you would never know.
Miss you, sir.
Yeah, it would just be that one time a month, you wouldn't see me out here, and you'd just find out that we were blown away. But you could still call, you could still get, email us, all that other stuff. We would
You
just,
need more storage space.
yeah, it
out
would just
there.
transition everything over there. Or, if the electricity went on, and you was trying to call us, we could roll over our phones wherever.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that, because I thought that it meant like a shelter for people to go to or something. Okay.
Well,
I understand what you mean.
And that's one of the things that we are looking at doing in our local. But it could be that
I
if we
understand.
had enough money.
The last one on here is the planning administration. That's housing authorities, housing management, all the IDC, all that's on this particular line, and that's the 20%. Can't exceed 20%.
I just was going to ask on that infrastructure on Tahlequah office, is that the building over on Allen Road?
Allen Road.
Okay, and that's where Tom's group's at now?
And
Okay.
those buildings are currently physically separated, so we're going to connect them together. The outsides are two completely different ones. We want to try to combine them all together.
Into one.
Into one, yeah. Do some drainage work. That's
I
keep
got a-
environmental out for all.
got
So
a
we're
question from
negotiating.
Ms. Watts, and then we're gonna try to take a break for lunch.
So, I guess maybe in the effort to take notes, I missed something. So I was trying to make in my head what different programs we have. Which bucket of money is actually gonna be new home construction in?
That's not in the HOSTA funded program.
So it's not in here.
Okay, so we'll only see that in our budget.
Yeah, I know, it
No,
won't sit in your
won't
budget.
sit in-
It's
But
not
I
a
thought that was
tribal
section
program.
138, which is federal funds.
That's a section 184.
184.
No, it is not federal loan. It is not federal funds. It is a federal loan guarantee.
Okay, so we will build it with tribal funds and we pay ourselves back with section
Build it
184.
with housing authority funds and pay it back with the 184 loan proceeds.
But none of it is Nahas
And
funds.
there's zero HOSTA funds.
So there's no grant funds that run through the nation that go to the housing authority for those.
Section section 184, and that's a tribal revolving loan fund, right? That when we pay ourselves back using the section 184, it's like a bulk tribal 184. Instead of like the individuals, it's be like what the bank gets to do to individuals. We're kind of acting as a bank through the federal.
No. We use a bank. On the 184 loan guarantee, the 184 loan program is eligible, individuals can participate in it, or tribes and tribal housing. So we're basically just like, no different.
So we ask them to go to a private bank to get the loan?
It's in our name.
Okay.
It's in Housing Authority's name.
Okay.
Housing Authority is the borrower. Housing Authority owns the property. Housing Authority is the borrower.
All right, and then what program does handicap ramps come out of?
Rehab, housing rehab.
And
Okay.
which-
Kara, are you about finished?
I am, I'm almost done. So
Walking stick's getting hungry over here. so.
well, he should eat breakfast then. So housing rehab, on which line is this?
16.1.
I already passed out over there.
16.1, is community services, and this is handicap
That
ramps.
it includes the handicap ramps. It includes handicap ramps, emergencies, as well as.
Okay, so I think the only thing that I didn't hear like a clear picture on that would also be great in the follow-up spreadsheet is a clear idea of overhead costs and like where those overhead costs come from in the different line items, how we evaluate programs. Like overall, I know when that one is fixed at 20% as a cap, but like what's the total? So here's our total amount for this IHP and this is the total
Yeah,
amount it takes to
that's
operate.
the line on those that planning and administrative.
But I saw that there was kind of some other lines, but then those two above it are overhead that are paid by our own generated revenue.
Send it tonight.
See, that's what I was trying to think. I'll talk about it with you offline and then we can figure out, but if I could have a better idea, it can't be just that for overhead is what I was reading. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion that we pass this resolution on to full council tonight.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, sir.
This has been very helpful, that what you've gone through. And as I was going through it, my question is, will this be submitted to HUD as is, just like it is? Okay, there's a lot of blanks, so I was confused about it.
This form is used for the IHP, which we submit now. At the end of 15, it'll also be, the same exact form will be used for the APR, which will fill in a lot of the blanks. So they leave it, they want it all on one form. What we estimate we're gonna do and then what we actually end up doing.
Oh, okay, well, like on page 43, I think it was, where there's no heading. But then on page 65, I believe it is, 64, or 65.
Mine has a-
Yeah.
Which one
Well,
is
it's
that?
18.1, I can't remember what page it's on. But transitional.
Additional housing?
Uh-huh. So, I can look it up real quick. But it is 18.1. You find it before I do.
39.
39, page 39, okay. So there's no heading on there, correct?
Additional
I have
housing.
it wrong.
Page 43, I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah, 43. Maybe that's it.
43 is 18.4 community resident services.
Yeah, there's no heading on that, right?
Yes, it is.
18.1 is what I thought it was.
It's not in our package.
Oh, it just didn't
Just-
print. Oh, no, I'm actually sending the electronic form. I don't know why. It's on ours.
So
Oh, well, that's what.
It says 20.1 out beside it though,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
yours. So let's,
Well, we're gonna have to rerun that.
Yeah, I'll print it again to see, but I don't know why it wouldn't have printed. It's definitely in the electronic copy.
Oh,
That's-
okay, well, that makes me feel better, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would like to see that. And-
I sent the electronic copy.
It was all jumbled up. It was like overlapping.
What, did a little box come in that said something about debugging? For some reason, every time I open that, a little box comes up and you just have to tell it, it says something about, do you want me to debug? And you have to hit end. And
The
then
hard copy
everything.
that admin brought me was like all jumbled up, so I took the electronic version and told it to print all.
Right,
And this
the
is what I
entire
got, which wasn't all jumbled up.
It's a print, it's a print thing that,
Okay.
I'm not sure why.
I have confidence.
It prints off
in it.
fine sometimes, and I guess sometimes it doesn't.
Okay.
But yeah, there's headings for absolute, it, on the electronic copy, yeah, I'll send it again, but on the electronic
Okay.
copy, on the tabs, if that tab isn't complete, well, with the exception of section 5, for some reason, I can't get it to turn green. But they're typically red and they'll turn green, saying you filled in everything.
Okay.
And so there are a few tabs on there that are still red because two of them need a signature, and for some reason, section 5 just doesn't want to say that it's complete, that I've double and triple checked it.
No, I've sent an email to the HUD office explaining problems. Of course, we won't have a response yet, and likely won't. But there's problems. This is brand new. This is the first time it's being used, and there's problems. And as soon as other tribes and housing authorities start questioning some of these, glitches, then they'll probably fix it. But there are glitches.
Yeah, as far as the rest of it, anything green or gray, that's APR information that we filled in at the end of 15.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And we
Just take it to
we
the
send
full
it on tonight. Okay.
Could I just have one other comment?
Yes, ma'am.
I know you all have done a tremendous amount of work on this, and I appreciate it. And I know, Ashley, you spent a lot of nights trying to put this together, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
And we,
Need any more sponsors?
yeah, probably do. Everybody raise their hand that wants to be. About everybody. Thank you, Don.
And you still can't get it right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've still got one more resolution on number 1.
Thank you.
Dinah, could you take that?
Yes, this is a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application by the Department of Children, Youth, and Family Services to USDHHS Family Violence Prevention and Services Program for victims of family violence. And I will put that in form of a motion.
Second, ask to be added.
I would also ask you.
Would everybody like to be added as a sponsor to this resolution? Looks like everybody.
I suspect this probably needs to go tonight too. So I would ask that it be just out of.
Let's go ahead and do
Go
that.
ahead and ask that it be sent through tonight.
Okay for the second?
Second.
By acclamation.
Yeah, by acclamation.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Make a motion to
Any announcements? Motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
We do have